Greetings fellow educators, my name is Sam. Now I know what you're all thinking. What is inclusive education? Ooh, is it integration? No, that's placing students with disabilities into mainstream environments where they're expected to adjust easily. What about segregation? No, that's placing them into separate environments designed to respond to their particular impairments. Oh, now I understand. We need to exclude? No! Maybe the Queensland Inclusive Education Policy can help us out here. Inclusive education means that all students can access and fully participate in learning alongside their peers. As teachers, our job is to make adjustments in the learning environment in order to meet students' individual needs. Inclusive education encompasses all aspects of school life and is supported by culture, policies, programs, and practices. But what kind of policies are we talking about here? Let's take a look. Although inclusive education has evolved since the early 1800s, back when children with disabilities were completely excluded from learning, 2008 marked a real turning point for inclusive education, as the United Nations created the CRPD. Article 24 of this document declares that state parties acknowledge the rights of people with disabilities and shall ensure that they're not excluded from the general education system. Children with disabilities shall not be excluded from free and compulsory education on the basis of disability. However, Australia may have been one step ahead. In 2005, the Disability Standards for Education were established. This contains 3 legal obligations for education providers, such as us, to follow. Rule number 1, teachers must consult to understand the impact of a student's disability. A practical example is being aware of cultural, linguistic, and accessibility needs. Rule number 2, teachers are required to make reasonable adjustments to assist a student with disability, but we must consider both the costs and the benefits of making these adjustments. Rule number 3, teachers must develop and implement strategies to prevent harassment and victimization of students with disabilities. I could give you some strategies, but that's another topic for another video. General comment number 4, created by the United Nations in 2016, explains that inclusive education is a continuing process, a human right that enables other human rights, and is the key to well-being, respect, and autonomy. The 9 core features of inclusive education, according to general comment number 4. Feel free to pause the video if you would like to take notes. And here we go. All done? Let's continue. There's just one thing that's been bugging me. What are the 5 fundamental concepts of inclusive education? To kick things off, ableism is a form of discrimination against people with disabilities. It makes them believe that they're inferior, while also limiting their opportunities. An example of this in a school setting is relying on print as a medium for sharing information, which would put students with dyslexia at a disadvantage. Ableism often manifests itself through unconscious bias. This is just something that we as teachers need to be aware of in our classrooms. The second concept is the social model of disability. Think of it like an armored vehicle that targets and destroys systemic barriers. For example, if a student with a hearing impairment can't follow the dialogue in an instructional video, like this one, it is because there are no closed captions. The social model of disability is all about adjusting the environment to make sure that students with disabilities feel welcomed and valued. Now let's get one thing clear. Equity, our third concept, is not the same thing as equality. Understanding the difference is fundamental to being an inclusive teacher. Take this diagram for instance. The students are being treated equally in the top image, the students are being treated equitably in the middle image, but in the last image, the systemic barriers are removed entirely. Equity involves making sure that every student gets what they need in order to succeed. Rhymes because it's true. Let me ask you a question. Is identifying a student's disability in order to support them worth the prejudice they may receive from other students in the classroom? Tough one, isn't it? Welcome to the dilemma of difference, our 4th concept. This can be a real challenge for some teachers, who may even stereotype or have low expectations for students with disabilities. That's not us. We must aid these students without drawing too much attention. A practical example of this would be universal design, which focuses on commonality rather than difference. And last but certainly not least, inclusive language is our 5th and final concept. A mistake that teachers often make is referring to students with disabilities using shortcut terms, and these may come off as disrespectful. I better not catch you using any of these words, otherwise we're going to have a problem. The way that we talk about students with disabilities not only has the power to make them feel excluded, but it also reflects our own values and beliefs. We must set a good example for students without disabilities by thinking carefully about what we say and how we say it in front of them. I really hope that this video helped you understand what it means to be an inclusive teacher. Good luck, and always remember, students are not disabled by their impairments, but by the barriers that they face in society.